If you have watched this channel for any amount of time, you will know that I film railroad crossings. A lot of railroad crossings. In fact, this channel now features over 1,000 grade crossing videos from nearly half of the United States. With limited exceptions, every one of those videos went off more or less without a hitch. But this does not always happen. In this video, I present to you when filming railroad crossings goes wrong. We start in my hometown of San Marcos, Texas. Beautiful morning light? Check. A crossing with a pair of classic mechanical bells? Check. A train actually coming? Check. The San Marcos city bus that only runs once an hour? Check. Thankfully, I was able to return to the crossing later in the morning for a bus-free video. On a rainy morning in San Marcos, a light power move was the only train anywhere near town. I figured that the Hopkins Street crossing would provide a nice view of the incoming locomotives. The hourly city bus thought so too, and it decided to get a front row seat. Nighttime is when the wild city buses really like to come out and stalk their prey. I had a close wildlife encounter one night at the Pleasant Valley Drive Railroad crossing in Austin, Texas. Ultimately, I ditched the crossing video for a bus-free straight-on shot of the train. It would be several years until I got the chance to film the Pleasant Valley Drive crossing again, not knowing that a hex had seemingly been placed over it. I walked away from the camera to photograph the lead locomotives of the train, and in my absence, it decided to demonstrate that its nighttime focus capability is not as good as advertised. This was my second attempt at filming this crossing, which featured one of the last mechanical bell pairs on this line. After over an hour wait, a train finally came. The sunset came as well, and before I knew it, the camera lost focus. With no way to manually set the focus after the fact on this older Sony camcorder, the video was ruined. Fortunately, I was able to refilm this crossing properly a couple of months later, and I am sure glad I did, as both mechanical bells were replaced just months later. Losing focus is not the only way camcorders can go on strike. My old Sony camcorder was notorious for giving false battery indications, which it decided to do on this day. Just moments after the lead locomotives passed, off went the camera. This turned out to be my lucky day, however. While Austin Western Railroad basically never runs more than one train a day over this track, that was exceedingly rarely not the case on this day. Moments later, a light power move consisting of 2 XSP tunnel motors came rolling through, which I taped with a backup camcorder. This next one really hurts. Leesville, Louisiana boasts 4 grade crossings with so-called prototype General Signals electronic bells. These are now over 30 years old and are some of the very first electronic bells installed in the United States. You won't get to hear them though, as my camcorder picked this time to introduce me to a new malfunction, muting the microphones after the battery is changed out. After the head end of the train passed, I noticed in horror that the onboard mics weren't picking up any sound. I quickly rebooted the camera and at least recorded the bells when the gates rose. Thankfully, I was also able to later record another train passing this extremely cool crossing. I feel bad for giving city buses a bad showing right off the bat in this video, but this next clip shows that all buses are a crossing filmer's worst enemy. Even regular SUVs can block a shot quite well. Thankfully though, this driver decided that he or she wasn't going to wait for the train and got out of my way. A sedan later replaced the SUV in the shot, but it is far less of a visual obstruction. Sometimes people behave strangely around a random cameraman perched at a railroad crossing. This gentleman, obviously with some railroad knowledge, was pretty displeased about my choice of filming location.
Hey,
Yeah?
sure you stay off that right of way. There's trains, main 1 and main 2, that run over your ass. Do not get on that right of way again or I'm going to call RMCC.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thankfully, other traffic approaching from behind forced him to move on. Sometimes, Mother Nature herself is determined to ruin one of my videos. I walked over to the tracks in between rounds of a family member's event at Texas A&M University, seeing if I could luck out with a train. Sure enough, a half hour into my wait, the nearby wayside signals lit up. Right as the train arrived, the heavens unexpectedly opened up. Having walked to the crossing with no umbrella, I was forced to use my camera bag to try and keep the camcorder dry, but it was all in vain. Thankfully, none of my equipment was ruined and I was able to refilm this crossing the next day without incident and in much better weather. Halfway across the Pacific Ocean, I attempted to film one of 2 active gated crossings in the entire state of Hawaii. Frustratingly, I learned that there was actually only 1 active crossing in the state, and it wasn't the one that I was at. It's a shame I couldn't film this one, as it features parking garage gates, traffic signal heads for lights, and mechanical bells typically found on a drawbridge. Oh well. A tripod is yet another piece of equipment that doesn't always comply. Here it played a part in turning rail fanning into hyper-focused leaf fanning. I was rail fanning down on the humid Texas Gulf Coast. A train with a rare Canadian Pacific SD70 ACU leader was fast approaching this classic Mopac-era gateless crossing. I quickly set up my camcorder, but the sudden temperature change from an air-conditioned car to the humid outdoors led to aggressive condensation. Despite my attempts to warm up and wipe off the lens, the condensation was also on the inside of the lens. It was hopeless. I had a short amount of time to kill in Van Buren, Arkansas. I headed down to a grade crossing featuring a classic Missouri Pacific era mechanical bell and saw a clear signal as well as a train beginning to roll my way. Perfect! Oh, how naive I was to think that this video would go off without a hitch. First of all, the Mopac-era bell was essentially completely dead. But second of all, the train was not on the move. It was just performing a switching move in Van Buren Yard. I present to you precision scheduled railroading at its worst. I had to move on, so I gave up on this video. Filming railroad crossings near rail yards is often quite a crapshoot. Here we have a similar situation several states away in Columbus, Ohio. And finally, here we have a similar situation in Houston, Texas, this time with a train entering a yard. Boy, were the drivers angry about this one. I hope you enjoyed this video of a small sampling of the many things that can go wrong when filming grade crossings. Thank you for watching.